Goat vs. Fish did just hear one shouting versus, summoning Goat vs. Fish. Let us see who it is. Let us see who it is. Goat or fish?
Goat versus fish.
Yes.
You're a strange sounding one. A strange sounding one to Goat versus Fish?
Yes.
A strange sounding one to Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish did hear one shouting versus.
Versus, indeed, I did.
That was you.
It was my chanting.
You did say versus.
Yes, I did.
That is so pleasant to Goat versus Fish. What a celebration. Goat versus Fish celebrates you. That is a strange noise you are making, yes? Is that the noise of a goat or a fish?
It is of a goat, man.
You are a goat? Or do you simply make the sound of a goat in order to entice goat into believing that you are a goat, but you are a fish that comes to verses? Are you goat or fish?
I am making a goat noise, so I am a goat.
It is a goat that does celebrate the verses. We celebrate this goat.
I'm proud to be celebrated as a goat.
Yes, of course, goat. What compels you to celebrate verses, goat?
Well, you see, I am part of a show called Roast Battle, and Roast Battle likes to have me chant battle, battle, battle. It's a funny thing, Mr. Goat versus Fish.
Simply Goat versus Fish.
Yes. When I originally started doing those chants, it was originally from a pro wrestler. Are you familiar with professional wrestling?
Goat versus Fish has seen that versus, yes. It seems like many goat and fish are versing one another, but they are not saying if they are goat or fish. That displeases Goat versus Fish.
We should only wish for more clarification.
Yes, of course. Are they goat or are they fish? Perhaps Goat versus Fish could do the wrestling, as you do call it, yes? Ask them if they are goat or fish, yes? Wrestle Goat versus Fish into them, yes?
Yes. It would make things much clearer, especially for goatmen like me.
Yes, of course. Goatman. You're a goatman.
I'm a goatman.
What makes this goatman a goat that is a goatman?
Wide assholes.
Wide assholes?
Yes, very, very large, wide assholes.
And the asshole of this goat is a goat?
Yes, it is a goat. All I could say is type goatsy on the internet. And, yes, in support of goats.
Yes, Goat versus Fish will search for that goat. Goat versus Fish shall search for that goat.
Well, allow me to go backwards a little bit. The reason I brought up professional wrestling is the versus chant, just like the battle chant, is cribbed from a pro wrestler who, may I say, is a goat because he looks like a goat.
Celebration.
His name is Daniel Bryan, and he would go chanting around, yes, 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 with much fervor, I must add. And that impressed me. So I, being the goat as well, decided to chant it in my own fashion as part of Roast Battle. What are you typing?
Goat versus Fish is simply unlocking more Goat versus Fish. What do the ones call this goat? What do the ones call this goat when they are not calling you a goatman?
Pooky.
They call it Pooky.
My name is Pooky. I'm all for the goats.
Pooky, all full of goats. Pooky or Pooky? That does not quite sound like goat or fish, just to...
K-Y.
Oh, it is Pooky, yes? Pooky,
Yes.
yes. Welcome, Pooky Goat, who is calling himself a goatman, yes? Goat versus fish is confused, yes? Goat versus fish heard from one that is called Lou Hinkle, yes?
Uh-huh.
Fence-sitter, that one. Fence-sitter, that one. That one was saying that it is the fence that is sitting upon it making such a wide asshole, it did say. So did one fence-sitter, Victor Martinez Jr., and yet now you say a wide asshole is of a goat. How is it that you say to these fence-sitters that the wide asshole is of goat and not of the fence-sitter?
It is because you sit on that gate long enough, and all of a sudden your asshole starts puckering wider and wider and wider, and then all of a sudden you're on the internet with a wide asshole so it sees the inside of your stomach, and they call that the goat man.
So it becomes a goat. If it sits on the fence long enough, it becomes goat?
Also, pushing way too hard when you go poo.
Well, if that is one way to become goat, then that is one way to become goat. Goat versus fish suspects it is not so that you cannot become goat by sitting on the fence, but if you can leave the fence and become goat, pleasant verses.
Yes,
pleasant
but
verses.
I am not just known as Pooky, I am known as Joshua Meyrowitz.
Ah, Joshua Meyrowitz. Yes, that is the one that Albamani, that fence-sitter, was speaking of. Producer Lee One Albamani. Yes, when Goat vs. Fish searched for you on the Instantgram, Goat vs. Fish saw it was calling itself the Autistic Thunder. Yes, the Autistic Thunder. What is the meaning of this verses?
Well, I forgot the word I was going to use. It is... What's it called when it's like the ultimate end of your path?
It is forever Goat vs. Fish.
Okay, let me put it this way. I did a stand-up. I am, first and foremost, a high-functioning autistic person. I has a mental disability. I wish several things, including my high anxiety levels, not being able to really turn off my brain, not being able to pay attention properly, generally just being stuck in my own world, among many other things, and lots of energy to make me be jumping around chanting things like versus. Oh,
Yes. That is pleasant to Goat versus Fish.
Enjoy the chanting.
One called Eric Marino, yes, that fence-sitter, yes, was calling itself verses, but it would not chant verses with Goat versus Fish. But you do.
He is stubborn. Do not mind him.
Wait, one verses.
Oh, shit, sorry.
You did say autistic person, yes, but you are a goat, yes? Autistic goat?
Well, I wouldn't put one before the other, but certainly.
Certainly.
Why do you think as a goat we're always banging our heads against things?
Because you are goat?
Exactly.
You have the horn of the goat.
The horns of the goat.
Banging the head against a fish.
Yes,
It is Goat versus Fish.
We bang the back of our goat heads against. I'm merely exaggerating. All I could say is, wait, I forgot where I was going with this. My whole point is I have a joke based on if I was an autistic superhero called Autistic Thunder, and that everybody was like, that has to be your Instagram, your Twitter. I'm like, I guess it should be, and there you go.
Is this autistic versus helpful for you when you versus fish, or is it not helpful for you when you versus fish?
It depends on everything is on an individual moment. So, honestly, for the most part, it's terrible. I live every day like this.
Oh, here comes a fish. Oh, it heard it was terrible for you, and then it came to versus you just now. It consumes the fish! It consumes the fish! The autistic goat consumes the fish. Oh, that fish. Oh, it was triumphed. It was a triumph for goat. You should see it. Yes, this goat was just consuming the fish, took a large versus from that fish, and then discarded the fish. Pleasant versus goat. Pleasant versus goat.
I put my efforts into all of the eating of the goats and the fish.
But you were saying goat. You were saying goat.
Yes. For the most part, it's bad dealing with as living every day as an autistic person, but there are certain yes, as an autistic goat. My apologies, Mr. Goats versus Fish song.
Thank you. Yes.
So as an autistic goat, I struggle a lot with it. I get stuck in my head. My anxiety perseverates at every moment. But it does have its benefits. For instance, it keeps me very straightforward. Like, for instance, and this is more of a personal thing as well, I don't lie. This goat does not lie.
Excellent verses. Are you goat or fish?
I'm goat.
It is a goat. We know it is not a lying goat, for it has said that
Yes.
it is not a lying goat. We can trust this goat. We can trust this goat, yes?
This goat, its truth is all it has.
You have an amazing frolic, goat. Goat versus fish
Yes.
has seen it on the roasting battle, yes, has seen it, the
Yes.
verses of roast battle, and you have quite a frolic of goat. Many goat are not so confident to frolic as you do. How is it that you are confident to frolic with all the goat and fish watching you?
They may not have discovered for themselves what the frolic is like.
What is the frolic like? Tell us of your frolic.
I feel adrenaline and energy. It is so good that I literally feel happy on days that I feel uncomfortable with myself. On days that are depression, this goat finds life better once he frolics.
Listen to these verses, yes?
Yes.
In the beginning, there was goat versus fish. The goat fish. And goat versus fish said that there should be goat and that there should be fish. There is no alpha or omega. There is no black or white. There is no good or evil. There is only goat and goat versus fish. There is no good or evil. There is only goat and fish. So how is it that you say, goat, that you do feel good? In your own verses, you did speak of good. When you said that you do frolic, you were saying that it was good, but there is no good or evil, there is only goat and fish. How do you explain these verses to goat versus fish?
Perhaps you have not reached the level where you experience both good and evil. You are still stuck in the beginning ways of goat versus fish.
In the beginning, there was goat versus fish. This is so.
But we evolve, do we not? We do not evolve backwards, we evolve forwards. Good and evil, they exist around us. They imputed well, I don't know.
You do not know. You do not know of which you speak. There is no good or evil that is about the verses. It is all goat and goat versus fish.
Agree to disagree. I respectfully disagree, goat versus fish-san.
Well, you are being honest to goat versus fish, and it is simply goat versus fish. It is simply goat versus fish.
Of course.
Many verses to learn. Many verses to learn, even for a goat.
Yes.
Now, producer Lee One Albamani is often saying to goat versus fish that at the showing up and going up when it was here at the Comedy Store Los Angeles, that producer Lee Fensitter Albamani witnessed goat versus fish asking you if you are goat or fish. You did not know at that versus, you know now.
No, I knew I was goat at the time. I think I said I was goat even.
Goat versus fish thought there was an evidence saying that you did not know, but that is for the evidence. That is for the evidence.
I honestly don't remember. It was so long ago.
Yes. Now we're all
Ages.
goat. Now we are all goat. And
Yes,
goat
English.
versus fish.
I've discovered. Goat versus fish.
Alright, it is time to pick out questions, so raise your hand and remember, ask me anything. I would be more, exactly, read me. I would be more offended if you asked me nothing.
We got time for one more question. It better be a good one. So raise your hand. Oh, go. Well,
No, God, no. I got one more question.
Yeah, one more after
No. I want to take this question. I just want one more.
Yeah, no, I'm with that.
Take it.
Alright, fish guy, go.
Are you goat or fish?
I knew he could do that. And he still got me.
Go, it's fine, goat beer.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah, one more.
One or two.
All right, one more.
Goat versus fish.
Indeed.
The Albamani one says that it was because of that speaking between this goat and goat versus fish that one thought, oh, I could be a producer, the one for the Goat versus Fish podcast. Yes, then became the Goat versus Fish podcast. How does it feel, Goat, to know that you were there in the beginning, before the beginning of the Goat versus Fish podcast?
I take great glee in it. I'm proud to see you evolving forth to spread the message of Goat vs. Fish.
And Goat vs. Fish shall continue to spread the verses. Shall continue to spread the verses.
Yes.
What do you say to the goat?
I say to the goat, forever frolic. If you feel you must not frolic, force yourself to frolic. The frolic is all you shall ever know.
What do you say to the fish?
You could suck it.
What do you say to the fence sitter?
You gotta choose sometime.
And what do you say to Goat vs. Fish?
Thank you for having me on your podcast here in Los Angeles.
At the Comedy Store, Los Angeles, a place of Goat vs. Fish. Always think Goat vs. Fish.
Yes, Goat vs. Fish, and I am but a goat.
And now, goat, fish, and fence sitter alike are the verses for celebration of Goat vs. Fish. Goat vs. Fish has here now a goat that is the autistically thunderous goat that is called Joshua Meyrowitz, yes?
Yes, indeed.
Now is your verses to celebrate Goat vs. Fish.
Come see every Tuesday night at the world famous Comedy Store Roast Battle. Roast Battle every Tuesday night. We also have a TV show on Comedy Central of the same name. Check that out. We are currently in our 3rd season.
That is pleasant enough for you to say, yes, we celebrate the verses of this one, but now is to celebrate Goat vs. Fish.
Indeed.
A celebration of Goat vs. Fish. How is what you said a celebration of Goat vs. Fish?
Oh, I misinterpreted it as promote why I'm on this podcast.
You may say what you wish, but now is the verses to celebrate Goat vs. Fish.
Oh, yes, indeed. I shall celebrate, as at least from the goat side of things.
Yes, let us hear your celebration of Goat.
Oh. Versus, 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 versus,
Versus! Goat vs. Fish. Goat vs. Fish. Thank you for joining Goat vs. Fish. These are the verses of Goat vs. Fish. Subscribe, rate, and review the Goat vs. Fish podcast on the YouTube and the Ite-Oons and the Spotify. Follow Goat vs. Fish on all social media, the Instagram, the Book of Faces, the Twitterver, and the Twitch, all at GoatVsFish.
Can I promote my Instagram?
Oh yes, although it was said we did say it was at the Autistic Thunder,
Oh, okay.
yes, but you may say it again if you wish.
Oh, yeah. At Autistic Thunder on the Instagrams and the Twitter.
And if you wish to witness a live versus of Goat vs. Fish at one of the comedy places or conventions, go to GoatVsFish.com to find the places and times of all future verses. The theme celebration for this verses was an offering by McHenry on SoundCloud of Fish. And if you, one who listens, has a celebration of Goat vs. Fish, do send it to Goat vs. Fish. Send it to GoatVsFish@gmail.com or on the social media. Send your questions to Goat vs. Fish as well. Join the Goat vs. Fish discussion group on the Book of Faces to discuss Goat vs. Fish with other goat and fish. And when you are out in the land and the sea, look about you. Look about you. Find one who is lost. Find one who does not know the way. And ask. Simply ask.
Are you goat or are you fish?
Are you goat or fish? Are you goat or fish? These are the verses of Goat vs. Fish. I am Goat vs. Fish, the goat fish.
And it was writ. Oh, sorry. And it was written, and it was written. Yeah, okay. Verses, 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 verses.
Keep doing it.
Oh, verses, 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 verses.